Hello again, Ian Stokey with Mastermind Games, back for more Malifaux, this time Draugr. Starting off with, Banshee Brown. Gonna give this one a nice pair of khakis. So, traveling through the breach from Earth to Malifaux empowers some individuals, though some of those empowered don't find their abilities until after their death. Those are the Draugr who rise from their graves, stronger and, generally speaking, more psychotic. In the first, they appeared in 2nd edition, actually, tied to Reva, which they still are. But they used to have an ability where they could change their size characteristic and get different abilities based on what size they picked for that turn. Now, they've changed a fair bit and are tied to fire and the burning condition. As far as I can tell, they still suffer the normal effects, but they also get advantages from being burning. They can put pyre markers in play that are hazardous terrain that inflicts the burning condition. And they are pretty straightforward wrecking ball type characters. Khaki got a little out of hand there. The other one, Templar Blue 09056. And there was a bit of fiction in one of the 2nd edition books, basically the diary of a Draugr as he went from living human to undead, getting more and more mentally deranged as he slipped further and further into his mania. And I'm basing this somewhat off of what's in the book, color-wise, but I'm going to take a few personal liberties concerning the fire aspect. And leather white 09062, we're going to just give him pale white flesh. Okay, so this one's shirt is mostly intact, but the sleeves have popped like balloons. Which brings to mind a bit from one of my favorite Studio Ghibli Hayao Miyazaki movies, Castle in the Sky, where early on a mining boss and a pilot get into a flexing competition, flexing their muscles till their shirts burst, and the mining boss's wife scolds him for ruining a shirt that she's going to have to mend later. Get the hands, this one is wearing bracers. These weren't too bad to put together. Alright. I'll apply that to the other one. Move on when it's dry. Okay. True Blue 09017. So, concept art shows some light blue on them, though in a different fashion than what I'm doing. I kind of like the notion that maybe this guy was an accountant or something before he died. So, with that in mind, I am giving his tattered remnants of what was once a shirt a very fancy looking bit of color here. And unlike the mindless zombies, the Draugr are going to be fairly clean. So I'm going to try to get a nice solid coat of this, especially on the interior there, it's a little more difficult to get to. Now this one, I'm going to take Stormy Gray 09088, if I can find it. There it is. I'll give him a darker gray shirt. I could do this the same color as the basing, but I really don't want to. And outside of the burst sleeves, his shirt is mostly intact. Just being careful along that ragged seam where the shirt stops and the skin starts. Here, I need to adjust my angle a little bit. Don't be afraid to go 3D on holding your model upside down, anyway, sideways, any way you have to do what you want to do with a paintbrush. Old Bronze 09197. I'm just going to do this on both of them real quick. I'm going to give them bronze handles on their axes. And I will pick out the, what is that? Scam call, because I do not know anybody in Lovell, Wyoming. That can just stay there. As much as I'd like to pick up and freak out like I'm going insane, which may not be far off given the week I've had, it's not worth my time right this minute. I want to do this. Trying to calm down, so I'm trying to do things that will calm me down. Okay. I'll go all the way up to the spike on this one, I think, but I might recolor it later. There's a distinct Y-shaped rune on each of their axes. Oh, and I just got up 60 frames in the blink of an eye. Now, looking at their heads, there was a rune on the artwork, but I don't see it on the model. So, alright. Now I'm going to take matte white and do their hair, because I have a specific idea for it, inspired by what I intend to do with their eyes and mouth, and driving it into the whole burning fire theme. So we'll just do it in white and kind of prepare for a pseudo lighting effect later on. So the leather white I've used is an off-white. This is a more of a pure white. And it does make a difference, and this one kind of has a proto-man bun there. Although, to be fair, the modern, quote, man bun hairstyle is an attempt to mimic the top knot favored by samurai of feudal Japan. I don't know why it got popular recently. I don't care either. It simply is what it is, and it's nothing that affects or harms me in any tangible way. So let all that dry up completely and do some more when I come back. Alright. Most of those are still drying, but I can move on to the leather, fur brown. And this is an army painter color, so I'm getting this guy's bracers here. And this is a substitute for the Reaper Master Series oiled leather. Being real careful because I don't want to nick the skin while I do this. And then the belt. Keeping the brush moist but not overly wet. And then the solid, sturdy boots. That might be a little thick right there. Let's try to backpedal some of that. Alright, apply the other one, let that dry, move on. I think I've got 2 base coats left at this point. Alright, let's get base coats wrapped up. I did the grips on the axes. I forgot to do that on the first one. I took care of it off camera. Tarnished steel 09206. And I'm just going to go, I think, from this point up and just redo the whole spike and all that. This is a little flimsier than I expected. That bronze may not have mixed quite right either. It seems a little funny. It's a little darker than it should be. I'm just going to get the other one real quick. Just get the blade on the back. And on the front. And that's not it. Cloudy Gray 09089. I'm getting a little more than that because it's a base coat. So these guys are on 40mm bases. And as I said, they had in 2nd edition, when they were introduced, the ability to change their size characteristic for different abilities, but that would not change their base size. But now they're burning berserkers, which works too. less complex. Those I was rereading the rules a couple of days ago. Some of the rules, especially the new shadow things, seem like it's more complicated or is worded more complexly than it needs to be, but that's its own thing. Apply the other one. Once it's dried, I can start shading. Back in a bit. Alright, time to shade. Blackened Steel 09205. Thinning with 1 part water to 1 part paint. Quickly going over the blade here. Gonna apply to the other one real quick because it shouldn't take long. And then Ruddy Leather 09109. Thinning that out and keeping the brush very wet during all of this. Go over the grips on the axe. And belts, bracers, and boots, and anything else I did in the fur brown. I find that some of these Army Painter colors don't go on as smoothly as the Reaper Master series do. I was originally gravitating towards them as a substitute since none of my friendly local gaming stores carry Reaper anymore. But with the lockdown and me having to order online anyway, I just switched back to my preferred brand. So the Army Painters will slowly get phased out over time, and I am going to let that dry and move on in a bit after applying to the other one. Alright, the leather's dry enough. Sapphire Blue 09016. Trying to make sure that goes inside of the torn shirt here. Let's see here. Caution on the front. Okay. Pure Black 09037. Come on, focus. Kinda. Okay, so with particularly dark colors like this, you'll need 2 to 3 parts water to 1 part paint. You know, think about it, I'm pretty sure I've seen Marvel's Thor in this same exact position. A little bit on the arm, that's to dilute that with some water, and Might just be I missed a spot. Whoa. Breonne Blue 09055. Let's go ahead and move on. And going back here with Khaki Shadow 09121. I still, for some reason, picture this guy as an accountant or something before his death and resurrection as a literal flaming berserker. And then aged Pewter 09196. Get the haft of the axe here. Apply the other one, let that dry. And then I should be able to finish up the shading in the next clip and go from there. Alright. Red and white 09061. And I'm just going to get both of their skin tones on camera here and wrap up my shading. Let's get this camera to focus though. There we go. Now I had it, and then I lost it. Being careful around the hair. This is an off-white, but this is an off-white. So we're going to keep the hair's base coat just pure white. Rather not have to repaint it unless I have, absolutely necessary. I'm starting to ramble. Let's just get this done. By the way, this particular Draugr is turning out, it's looking kind of like a heavy metal rocker. And a big storm's coming in. So I just want to get this last bit of shading wrapped up and then get some windows closed before things start blowing around. Which it seems like they already are. That's fine though. Alright, this will take long. I don't know why, but for some reason the Village People song Macho Man is coming into my head. Well, that figures. As soon as I start putting paint to plastic, the wind starts getting absolutely insane, going from a slight breeze to just knocking everything around. Okay, and that's pretty good. So, Stormy Gray 09088. Holy moly, it's getting loud out there. And I have a lot of tree cover here in my home, but some of this is getting into the studio now, so I'm just going to consider it one of those little bits of chaos that makes this more interesting. And there's the shading on the base. Once this is all done and dry, I can do some lighting effects. I'll apply that to the other one off camera. In the meantime, I gotta get some things closed down before stuff blows around. Okay, some lighting effects now with Fire Orange 09006. The closer I get to finishing this particular Draugr, the more it looks like a heavy metal rocker with a man bun. Oh, there we go. It fell off. Alright. 2 to 3 parts water to 1 part paint for a lighting effect. Oh, sort of end. Eye. So this is going to go in the eyes and the open mouth. And I'm going to go along with on the hair, which when combined with what I intend to highlight the hair with should give the look of smoldering coal. Just want to make sure I get a nice, decent coverage on that hair. And then the rune. The axe. And let's do the other one real quick. So he's not screaming, but his hair is still going to be looking like smoldering embers by the time I'm done. Rune on the axe, and so I forgot to mention, I prepped the rune in these hollows on the axe in matte white beforehand and just did that off camera to save some time. Alright, let that dry completely, then I can highlight, detail, and wrap up. Alright, time to highlight. Ghost White 09063. Let's see, need to find the right brush for the job. Switching to something ragged and feathered like this. Straight paint, no water, and I'm rubbing most of the paint out on a paper towel so it looks like there's nothing left. And dusting the area to be effective. This is one of the more subtle combinations. The leather white, linen white, ghost white. Going against any raised areas or ridges. And I'm focusing on what is readily visible. Refreshing the paint as needed. So again, by going against any ridges, the muscles are popping more. And I'm going to go ahead and just highlight both models on camera. I should mention he's not wearing gloves. The part of the fingers were a separate piece. And looking a little more at his face sculpt, if this one had a mustache, he'd look a bit like a guy I work with. Just want a little more of that across the face, particularly the bridge of the nose. A little more on the arms. I really want to get those biceps nice and bulging. So pure black 09037 now. And I'm going to use this to highlight the hair, and if it works the way it should, well, it'll turn out like the Emberling I did, or Forgeling, excuse me, I did a while back for Mei Feng. And here I do need to get the back of the head to help sell the smoldering effect, and I just nicked the bicep a bit, so I'm going to go into a little of that ghost white again and just tidy that up. Using a little more straight paint than I would. Won't look perfect, but it'll look okay. And the other one. Yeah, not too bad. So I'll go ahead and Khaki highlight 09123. Since I have this one in hand. And this gets pants here. Sky Blue 09018. And again, I'm focusing on just what's most readily visible here with the highlighting. There's where it's a little more obvious, where you see the folds and wrinkles in the, well, what's left of his shirt catching that blue, that lighter blue. Some of this is kind of subtle, but there's nothing wrong with subtle. So. Ashen Blue 09057. So this is the second edition sculpt, and I don't think they've actually done a new one for the Draugr, but this may have been reflective of their earlier abilities, because the other one is definitely a fair bit larger than this one physically. Let's see where is it? Cloudy Gray 09089. Still fighting that blur. And next, Tarnished Brass 09198. I can get a grip on my brush. That wiggle there makes me a little nervous. Again, some of the few 3rd edition Malifaux models I own seem to use a different plastic than 2nd edition, which is not as brittle. But that was definitely, using a fairly brittle plastic was definitely a flaw in 2nd edition, so. Burnt Orange 09111, just something to think about for any aspiring manufacturers in general, really. Consider what materials you use with care. So there needs to be a balance, depending on what you're making, between durability, cost, and function. Function. Whoa. Now we're just about done. Highlighting dries very quickly. Not quite, but close to instantaneously. But that also means you only have a few seconds to fix any mistakes you make during this step. And I'll use a little extra straight paint right here just to cover up that white. I think part of my problem with the blur might be how fast I tend to paint, but I think I need to play around with the lighting a little more as well. Some of the blue, the denim, when I shaded it, got onto the boots and down the base. I did it again. I am dropping a lot today. Okay, second to last, True Silver 09207. Oh, and I dropped 169 frames. Oh boy. I will get this figured out eventually. Practice, repetition, experimentation. Those are the keys to improving. I get a lot of negative comments on people just looking to pick a fight. They tend to favor older videos when I was just getting started as opposed to anything new, and it's just really frustrating, because constructive criticism comes with advice on how to fix things or what is very specifically wrong, not just things that, not just what's like it resolves to F you, you suck, etc., which is not constructive. A little extra right here. There we go. And Misty Gray 09090. Yeah, sorry about that, Ryan. I'm just getting real sick of internet trolls and certain relatives ranting and raving on Facebook. You can pick your friends, but you can't pick your family. That got a little blue in there. And the light dusting across the base. Doing scenic bases is fine and good, but I feel the base should not take focus away from the model standing on it. Just something to keep in mind in general when doing scenic bases. And now pure black again, excuse me, 09037. And I am going to switch to a flathead brush. Using just enough water to thin the paint, keeping the brush moist but not overly wet. Just going to line the base. I'm presenting a way to paint these, not the only way. A way to paint these. This is not the only way, either in style or color selection. And this last, well, second to last painting step here is just to clean up the paint that strayed. It will go flying. Here in full paint mode here. So tidy up the other one, let all of this dry completely, and there's one more thing to do before I varnish, which I can't do on camera, so I'm back in a bit. Alright, last step, matte white. Just need a little of this, and I'm just going to number the backs of the bases by putting the model number on the model and on the reference card. It makes it much easier to track and makes it bluntly obvious to both players who has taken what damage. So quick Roman numerals. 1. And 2. And all that's left now is to varnish, which I can't do on camera. But that is focuses. That is it. Draugr from the Resurrectionists faction of Malifaux. Continuing with Malifaux and continuing with more Resurrectionists. And until then, I am Ian Stokey with Mastermind Games, signing out.